Hello Steamies. While Thomas and Friends is a show that made a lot of kids feel safe and loved, myself included, there were some episodes that straight up traumatised me. Me being a very sensitive child and seeing some of the darker imagery definitely gave me some sleepless nights, and there was one episode that I didn't recover from until just before my 21st birthday. These are my top 5 Thomas and Friends episodes that traumatised me. These could either be ones that gave me trauma as a child, or even as an adult. Once again, these are my own personal opinions, and no doubt your list would be different from mine. That's the one thing that makes the Thomas fandom so unique. And please let me know in the comments what episodes traumatised you as a child. All I ask is that you be respectful, and above all, enjoy the video. Okay, let's dive in. Number 5. The Sad Story of Henry. Okay, I want to clear up a couple of things around this story first. First of all, Henry is not scared of the rain. It's that he doesn't want it to ruin his lovely green paint and red stripes. So I would say it was more egotism rather than being scared. That being said, the ending is a little bit traumatizing. It's been discussed in plenty of videos, some with inaccurate information and some with accurate information. But what happens, spoiler alert, he doesn't come out of the tunnel willingly. They take up his rails, they brick him in the tunnel, and they leave him there. His fire goes out, soot and dirt from the tunnel spoils his lovely green paint with red stripes anyway, and all he can do is watch the trains going back and forth through the other tunnel. The imagery of the live action models from series 1, especially in the ending scene from when he gets bricked up until the slow zoom in to him in the tunnel, really scared me as a kid, and still gives me uneasy feelings as an adult. I've put on record that I do think Henry deserved his punishment, because he does get out eventually. But I think the real trauma was from reading the Railway series books and finding out that originally the Reverend W. Audrey was going to leave him in there for always and always and always. It was down to the publishers that actually saved Henry's tender. They said, "That's a bit of a bleak ending, we need a story to tie it all together and get Henry out of the tunnel." So if it wasn't for that, he would still be bricked up in this tunnel. He essentially would be the smudger of the big engines. Speaking of which, number 4, Grand Puff. Okay, we'll start with Smudger. Again, I think he deserved his punishment. But, in a difference of opinion to what everybody else thinks, I don't think he should have never moved again from being turned into a generator. While that would be quite traumatising, the thing that really gave me PTSD was the ending. They lock Duke in the shed, driver and fireman go away to find work, he decides to go to sleep to pass the time, and over the course of X amount of decades, he is buried alive under muck, soil, trees and bushes. That is a traumatising ending. Number 3, Toby and the Flood. Honestly, I am so glad that I watched this as an adult and didn't watch Series 5 when it was meant to have came out, because I would not have slept for several nights watching this episode. One of my favourite characters, Toby, was going to straight up go over a waterfall and die. The entire episode is traumatising. That shows the great skill that David Mitton had created by this point, as well as the suspenseful dread score from Mike O'Donnell and Junior Campbell. This was the episode that made me think I was watching a Die Hard adaptation rather than something from Thomas the Tank Engine. I know it all comes good in the end, but man, oh man, this was heavy going stuff. Speaking of heavy going, number 2, Principon Percy. What is it with this series about burying characters alive? Again, if I watched this when it actually came out, I would have had nightmares about this, because Percy is my favourite engine, and he gets the absolute raw end of the deal for the whole episode, and then the mine collapses, and as he's getting away from the mine, tracks start to give way from under him, so he has to duck under a little kind of canopy thing and gets completely covered, and everybody thinks he's buried alive along with the crew. Again, the sense of dread, the sense of urgency, the tension, all great in terms of an episode. But for emotional and mental trauma, well, there's a reason why I had to pay for therapy when I got to my 30s. And the number 1 Thomas and Friends episode that traumatised me is Pop Goes the Diesel. Okay, this is the episode. The episode that I did not get over until just before I turned 21. What scared me so much about it was the ending sequence from when Duck turns up to watch Diesel trying to move the old empty trucks right up until the end. This entire sequence, I remember clinging to my granny watching it and screaming the house down. Because again, I was a baby when I watched this. The things that scared me about it the most was the fact that the trucks were basically coming apart from Diesel pushing and pulling the trucks, trying to move them. Their groans and wails of "we can't, we won't," and being so terrified. And the scared resin faces of the trucks really were quite terrifying. And Diesel himself is what gave me the most trauma. The growl that Ringo Starr did for him still sends a shiver up my spine when I think about it, or watch it. Some of the shots when Diesel was giving a great heave and the engine would move straight for the camera quite quickly was quite scary for me, because it was like Diesel was coming at me to attack me. The face that he had, the angry resin face with the kind of flushed cheeks as well, also really intimidating. The scene where it's a close-up shot of Diesel's angry face, he's growling, the steam's rising, his eyes start to roll really, really fast. All really, really scary. It was someone having a massive temper tantrum, and that gave me a lot of fear. It was the stage where, when I was a kid, I would skip that episode entirely, and then I would watch up to just before that scene, and then I couldn't go past it. Again, it took me until just before my 21st birthday when I decided I need to get past this fear. I can't live in fear of this episode anymore. But every time I would get close to that scene, and I would get progressively closer each time, before it would get to Diesel growling, I would have to fast forward it or skip it. I couldn't do it. Until one day, when I accidentally lost the remote, and I went to try and find it, and I couldn't find it. And then it came on in front of me, and I was just sitting on the floor like I was when I was a kid, looking at this and being so scared of it. But after I watched it, then I got past it. But the fact that an episode from 1986 could still have trauma on me up until, at this point, 2008, I think that says enough about why I was so traumatized. So that's my top 5 Thomas and Friends episodes that traumatized me as a child. Let me know in the comments what episodes traumatized you as a child. Do any still traumatize you today? Thank you all for watching, and until next time, keep on jugging.